The communication screen flickered to life in the research lab, casting blue light across Zeftar's scaly face. The xenobiologist had been studying peaceful gas clouds in the outer rim when the emergency signal arrived. His three eyes focused on the image appearing before him, a blue and green planet spinning slowly in the darkness of space. "This cannot be right," Zeftar muttered, his translator device converting his clicks and whistles into standard galactic speech. He checked the readings again. The planet showed all the signs of a Class 12 Deathworld, the most dangerous classification in the galactic database. Captain Velmoth's worried face appeared on the screen. Her purple skin looked pale and her antenna twitched with nervousness. "Zeftar, we need you here immediately. What we found on Terra 3 makes no sense." "Explain," Zeftar said, already preparing his travel gear. "The planet is worse than our worst predictions. The surface temperature changes by over 50 degrees regularly. The atmosphere contains 21% oxygen. That's enough to burn through most ship hulls. The gravity is 1.8 times normal. Massive storms rage across the surface with winds that could tear apart our strongest buildings." Zeftar nodded. This sounded like a typical Deathworld. "So we mark it as uninhabitable and move on. Why the emergency?" Velmoth's antenna drooped. "Because it's not uninhabitable. There are over 7 billion intelligent beings living there. They call themselves humans, and they're not just surviving, they're thriving." The xenobiologist's three eyes widened. "Impossible. Show me the evidence." The screen changed to display images of the planet's surface. Zeftar saw massive structures built right next to active volcanoes. Cities stretched across areas where tectonic plates met and shifted. Settlements existed on islands surrounded by violent seas, and even in frozen wastelands where temperatures dropped far below survival levels. "Look at this," Velmoth continued. The image showed a group of humans running across hot sand under the blazing sun. They wore almost no protection, just thin fabric coverings. "They do this for something they call fun. They run long distances in heat that would kill most species in minutes." Zeftar studied the images carefully. The humans looked fragile compared to most galactic species. They had no natural armor, no protective scales or shells. Their skin appeared soft and easily damaged. Yet somehow they lived on a planet that should have destroyed them long ago. "There's more," Velmoth said. "They've achieved spaceflight." "What kind of spaceflight?" "Chemical rockets. They strap themselves to controlled explosions and launch into space." Zeftar felt dizzy. Chemical rockets were considered primitive and incredibly dangerous. Most civilized species had banned them centuries ago after too many accidents. "Are you certain they're intelligent?" "Watch this." The screen showed two humans in a primitive spacecraft. The male, who they later learned was named Jake Morrison, was speaking calmly into a communication device while explosive forces pushed him away from the planet at tremendous speed. His companion, Lisa Campbell, was checking instruments and seemed completely relaxed despite the violent shaking of their vessel. "The acceleration forces should crush them," Zeftar whispered. "No organic being can survive those G-forces. They not only survive it, they seem to enjoy it. Listen to their communications." Jake's voice came through the speakers, translated into galactic standard. "Beautiful view of Earth today, Control. Lisa's got the navigation systems running smooth. We are looking forward to the orbital survey." Lisa's voice followed. "The ride-up was fantastic. Can't wait to see what's out here." "They describe it as fantastic," Velmoth said. "They're experiencing forces that would liquefy most species, and they call it fantastic." Zeftar began packing his equipment with urgent speed. "I'll arrive within 2 cycles. Continue monitoring but maintain distance. If these humans can survive on that Deathworld, we don't know what else they might be capable of." The journey to Terra 3 gave Zeftar time to study the preliminary reports. Each page made the situation more confusing. The humans regularly exposed themselves to their star's radiation, something they called sunbathing. They consumed poisonous substances like alcohol and caffeine for pleasure. They kept dangerous predators as companions in their homes. Most disturbing were the reports of human physical capabilities. Security recordings showed construction workers lifting objects that should require mechanical assistance. Athletes performed feats that broke every known biological limit. A human female named Amy Johnson had run over 40 kilometers without stopping, a distance that would require mechanical transport for most species. When Zeftar arrived at the monitoring station, Captain Velmoth met him at the docking bay. "It's gotten worse since I called you," she said immediately. "How can it be worse?" "They've detected us." Zeftar's scales turned pale. "Have they attacked?" "That's the problem. They haven't attacked. They've tried to communicate. They sent greetings in over 200 different languages and mathematical sequences. They've played music at us. They even sent pictures of their families." "Their families?" "Small humans. Offspring. They're showing us their children, Zeftar. What kind of species shares images of their young with unknown aliens?" They walked quickly through the station corridors. Other research staff nodded respectfully to Zeftar, but he could see worry in their expressions. Everyone knew this situation was beyond their normal protocols. In the main observation deck, Zeftar got his first real-time view of Earth. The planet hung in space like a blue jewel, white clouds swirling across its surface. It looked almost peaceful from this distance, but he knew the readings told a different story. "Show me their cities at night," he requested. The display zoomed in to show the dark side of the planet. Thousands of lights twinkled across the surface, forming patterns that stretched for hundreds of kilometers. The humans had built civilization across their entire Deathworld. "They have settlements everywhere," Velmoth explained. "In deserts, on mountains, in frozen regions, even on floating platforms in their oceans. They've adapted to every environment on that planet." "What about their technology?" "Primitive by our standards, but incredibly robust. Their machines are built to withstand conditions that would destroy our finest equipment. They use materials and techniques we abandoned as too dangerous or unstable." The communication system chimed. "Captain," came a voice from the bridge. "The humans are broadcasting again. Put it through." A new voice filled the observation deck, speaking in what they'd learned was called English. The translator converted it smoothly. "This is Jake Morrison aboard Explorer 1 to unknown spacecraft. We see you up there and we're hoping for peaceful contact. We'd like to welcome you to our solar system and invite you to talk. We have a lot to learn from each other." Zeftar listened carefully to the tone and word choice. "He sounds hopeful, not aggressive." "That's what worries us," Velmoth admitted. "Any sensible species would be preparing for war when unknown aliens appear in their space. These humans seem excited about meeting us. Maybe they're not as intelligent as we thought. Look at this." Velmoth activated another display showing human military installations. "They have weapons that could damage our ships, nuclear missiles, orbital defense platforms, energy weapons. They're not helpless. They're choosing to be peaceful." Zeftar studied the data for long minutes. Every piece of information contradicted established galactic knowledge about how species should behave. The humans were strong enough to be dangerous but chose to be welcoming. They lived on a death world but thrived instead of merely surviving. They had weapons but offered friendship. "Captain," he said finally, "I think we need to completely revise our understanding of what's possible in this galaxy. These humans may be the most remarkable species we've ever encountered." On the screen, Earth continued its slow rotation, beautiful and deadly, home to beings who had turned their world's greatest challenges into their greatest strengths. The real question wasn't whether humans could survive in the galaxy, it was whether the galaxy was ready for humans. Dr. Klicksvan arrived at the monitoring station 3 cycles later, bringing with him the most advanced biological analysis equipment in the Confederation. His reputation as the galaxy's leading evolutionary biologist had earned him respect across countless worlds, but nothing in his experience had prepared him for what awaited at Terra 3. "Where are the specimens?" he asked immediately upon boarding the research vessel. His forearms moved efficiently as he set up his laboratory equipment, each limb working independently to calibrate different instruments. Captain Velmoth exchanged worried glances with Zeftar. That's our first problem, Doctor. We can't safely contain them. Explain. We managed to transport 2 humans to our ship for study. Both volunteered actually, which was strange enough. But keeping them in our standard containment facilities proved impossible. Klicksvin's eye stalk swiveled to focus on both officers. What do you mean, impossible? Show him the security footage, Velmoth instructed her aide. The laboratory screens displayed images from the ship's detention level. A human male identified as Ryan Torres stood examining the reinforced barriers of his cell. The containment unit had been designed to hold beings 3 times larger and stronger than the average galactic species. Watch carefully. Zeftar pointed to the screen. Ryan placed his hands on the titanium bars and began to bend them. Not with tools or leverage, but with simple grip strength and steady pressure. The metal groaned and slowly gave way under forces that should have been impossible for an organic being to generate. The structural integrity readings show those bars can withstand 12 tons of pressure, Velmoth explained. He's bending them with his bare hands. Klicksvin's skin changed from its normal green to a shocked purple. What is his estimated body mass? Approximately 85 kilograms. That's impossible. No organic creature that size should possess such strength. It gets worse, Zeftar said. Show him the medical bay footage. The scene changed to show the ship's medical facility. A human female, Amy Johnson, sat calmly on an examination table while automated scanners moved around her. The readings, displayed on nearby monitors, made Klicksvin's 4 hearts skip beats. The radiation levels in that room would kill most species within minutes, he observed. She's been in there for 6 hours. Her vital signs remain completely normal. She's actually been asking our medical staff questions about our anatomy and offering to help with their research. Amy's voice came through the speakers, translated into Galactic Standard. Your cardiovascular system is fascinating. Having 2 hearts must provide amazing efficiency. On Earth, we study species with multiple circulatory systems, but nothing as elegant as your design. She's conducting scientific discussions while being exposed to lethal radiation levels, Klicksvin muttered. What does she do on her homeworld? Medical researcher. She studies diseases and develops treatments. The doctor began pulling up more data files. Each piece of information about human biology challenged everything he thought he knew about life in the universe. These readings show they regularly consume ethanol, a poison that damages cellular structure. They call it alcohol and drink it for pleasure, Velmoth confirmed. They also consume caffeine, another toxic substance, every morning to help them wake up. They deliberately poison themselves daily? There's more. They intentionally expose themselves to harmful solar radiation for something called tanning. They inject weakened pathogens into their bodies as medicine. They consume capsaicin, a chemical designed to cause pain because they enjoy the sensation. Klicksvin sat down heavily in his specialized chair. His research had covered thousands of species across hundreds of worlds, but nothing had prepared him for this. Show me their physical capabilities. The screens filled with footage from Earth's surface. Humans engaged in activities that defied biological logic. A male named Carlos Martinez ran continuously for over 4 hours, covering a distance of 42 kilometers. His body temperature rose to levels that should have caused organ failure, yet he continued moving steadily forward. How is he not dead? He finished the race and then walked around talking to other humans for another hour, Zeftar replied. They call this a marathon, and thousands of humans do it regularly. The footage switched to show a human female, Beth Taylor, lifting metal weights that totaled more than twice her body mass. She raised the enormous load over her head and held it there while other humans cheered encouragement. Her bone structure should collapse under that weight, Klicksvin whispered. Watch this. The screen showed human athletes performing activities that seemed designed to cause injury. They threw themselves off high platforms while attached to elastic cords. They rode down mountainsides at tremendous speeds on narrow boards. They climbed vertical rock faces using only their hands and feet. They do these things for entertainment, Velmoth explained. They seek out dangerous activities because they find them enjoyable. Klicksvin's scientific mind struggled to process the information. What about their social behavior? Are they aggressive toward each other? That's perhaps the most confusing aspect of all. The display showed the ship's common area where Ryan Torres and Amy Johnson had been moved after their containment failures. Instead of attempting escape or showing hostility, both humans were interacting peacefully with the alien crew. Amy sat at a table with 3 different species, sharing her food rations. "Try this," she was saying, offering a portion of her meal to a nervous-looking researcher. "It's called chocolate. Most humans love it, but I'm curious if other species might enjoy it too." Ryan had somehow acquired tools and was helping repair a damaged console. His strong hands worked carefully with delicate components while engineer Vextall provided guidance. "Interesting design," Ryan commented. "On Earth, we'd probably use a different approach, but this is much more elegant." "They're helping us," Velmoth said. "They escaped from containment, and instead of fleeing or fighting, they're volunteering to assist with ship maintenance and research. Have they asked to return to their planet?" "Several times, but they've also asked if they can stay longer to learn more about us. Amy wants to study our medical techniques. Ryan is fascinated by our engineering methods." Klicksvin reviewed the medical scans again. Human biology operated on principles that seemed designed for survival in impossible conditions. Their bones were dense and strong, their muscles capable of explosive power, their organs resistant to damage that would destroy most life forms. "They're built for war," he concluded. "These must be soldiers, specially modified for combat." "We thought the same thing," Zeftar replied. "But our observations of their homeworld show this is normal for their species. The humans we captured are civilian professionals. Amy is a medical researcher. Ryan works in building construction. They're not military specialists." "Construction?" Klicksvin pulled up Ryan's file. "He builds structures on a Deathworld as his regular job. Every day, he works with heavy materials in dangerous conditions using tools that would be considered weapons on most civilized worlds." The implications hit Klicksvin like a physical blow. "If these are their civilians, what are their soldiers like?" "We don't know, but we've identified military installations on their planet. The energy readings suggest weapon systems more powerful than anything in our databases." Amy's laughter echoed through the ship's corridors as she shared a joke with the medical staff. The sound was warm and genuinely happy, completely at odds with everything Klicksvin expected from a species capable of such physical prowess. "Doctor," Velmoth said quietly, "there's something else. Both humans have been asking about our well-being." Amy noticed that our medical officer looked tired and offered to help with his workload. Ryan saw that our engineering team was struggling with repairs and volunteered his assistance. "They're concerned about us?" "They seem to view helping others as natural behavior. Amy has been treating minor injuries among the crew without being asked. Ryan fixed 3 critical systems that our own engineers couldn't repair." Klicksvin looked at the data one more time. Everything about human biology suggested they should be the galaxy's most dangerous predators. Instead, they appeared to be its most helpful species. "I need to expand this study immediately," he announced. "Contact the Biological Council. Tell them we've found something that challenges every theory about evolution and survival in hostile environments." On the screens, Amy was teaching a young researcher how to treat a common injury, while Ryan demonstrated an innovative repair technique to fascinated engineers. The humans' Deathworld had created beings of incredible capability, but somehow that capability included an unprecedented capacity for kindness. Ambassador Tysail's diplomatic vessel approached the Terra 3 system, with all the ceremony expected of first contact with a new species. Her ship, the Harmony of Worlds, carried representatives from 12 different galactic civilizations and enough translation equipment to communicate with any known form of life. What they found waiting for them challenged every diplomatic protocol in the Galactic Handbook. "Ambassador," her communications officer announced, "we're receiving multiple signals from the planet. They're broadcasting greetings in over 300 languages, including several we've never encountered before." "Are they trying to confuse us with multiple messages?" "No, ma'am. Analysis shows they're attempting to find a common communication method. They've included mathematical concepts, musical patterns, and even visual representations of their solar system. Theseal's tentacles curled with interest. Most species became defensive when unknown ships appeared in their space. These humans seemed eager to establish contact. What's our sensor analysis showing? The planet is definitely a Class 12 death world, but the population readings are incredible. Over 7 billion individuals spread across every continent and climate zone. Show me their settlements. The main display filled with images of human cities. Theseal had seen thousands of civilizations across the galaxy, but human urban development followed no recognizable pattern. They built massive structures directly on unstable ground where tectonic plates met. Entire cities existed in areas regularly devastated by violent storms. Some settlements were constructed on islands barely above sea level, while others sat in frozen regions where temperatures dropped far below survivable levels. Why would they build in such dangerous locations? Unknown, Ambassador. But they seem to have developed specialized techniques for each environment. The display showed a human settlement near an active volcano. Instead of fleeing from the dangerous mountain, the humans had built their city to use the volcanic heat for energy. Steam rose from carefully constructed vents, powering generators that supplied electricity to thousands of homes. They're using the Deathworld's dangers as resources, Theseal realized. There's more. Look at this. The screen changed to show human agricultural areas. Theseal expected to see the protected growing facilities used by most civilized species. Instead, she saw vast open fields where humans worked directly with the soil using their bare hands. A female named Helen Clark walked through rows of growing plants, stopping frequently to examine them without any protective equipment. That soil should be toxic to organic life, the science officer reported. It contains microorganisms, chemical compounds, and mineral concentrations that would poison most species. Yet they're growing food in it? Successfully. Their agricultural output is remarkable. They're feeding their entire population using these methods. Theseal watched Helen pick up a handful of dirt and examine it closely. The human woman smiled as she let the soil run through her fingers, showing no fear of contamination. Request permission to observe their settlements more closely. Permission granted, Ambassador, but we're receiving an invitation. An invitation? A human named Frank Butler is requesting that we visit what he calls a school. He wants to show us how they train their young. The diplomatic team exchanged glances. Observing how a species raised their offspring could provide valuable insights into their culture and intentions. Accept the invitation but maintain defensive readiness. The shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, and Theseal got her first direct experience of the planet's hostile environment. The chemical composition of the air would corrode most ship hulls. The atmospheric pressure was dangerously high, and electrical storms raged across half the visible surface. The humans live in this every day, she whispered to herself. They landed near Frank Butler's school, a simple building constructed with materials that seemed inadequate for the harsh environment. Frank met them at the entrance, a middle-aged human with graying hair and a warm smile. "Welcome to Earth," he said through the translation device. "I'm honored to meet you. The children are very excited to see visitors from other worlds." Children? Our young ones. They're learning about the universe, and meeting you would mean everything to them. Theseal followed Frank into the building, her diplomatic training warring with her growing amazement. The structure contained dozens of small humans, all engaged in various learning activities. They showed no fear of the alien visitors, only curiosity and excitement. "This is Maria," Frank introduced a young human female. "She's been studying astronomy and has questions about your homeworld." Maria stepped forward without hesitation. "Do you have oceans on your planet? What color is your sky? Do you have animals like we do?" The innocent questions from a being living on a death world struck Theseal as surreal. "Your sky is blue because of how your atmosphere scatters light from your star," she replied carefully. "That's amazing. Our sky is blue too, but sometimes it's red or orange or purple. It changes all the time. Doesn't that frighten you?" Maria looked puzzled. "Why would it frighten me? It's beautiful. As the diplomatic team toured the school, they observed human education methods that defied galactic norms. The children learned by direct interaction with their environment. They studied weather by going outside during storms. They learned about biology by examining living creatures, including some that would be considered dangerous predators on other worlds. "Is that a carnivorous quadruped?" Thysael's security chief asked nervously, pointing to a furry creature lying peacefully among the children. "That's Max, our classroom dog," Frank explained. "He helps teach the children about responsibility and caring for others, but it has powerful jaws and sharp teeth. Max is very gentle. He's been with us for 6 years. The children love him." Thysael watched in fascination as the children interacted fearlessly with the creature. They petted it, hugged it, and even fell asleep against its warm fur. The predator seemed to enjoy the attention, its tail wagging in what appeared to be happiness. "How do you ensure safety?" "We teach the children to understand and respect all living things. They learn that even dangerous creatures can be friends, if treated properly." After the school visit, the diplomatic team was taken to meet other members of the human community. Pete Adams, a construction worker, showed them how humans built their structures to withstand the planet's violent weather. He worked with massive machines and dangerous materials as casually as most species handled basic tools. "Safety is important," Pete explained while operating equipment that could easily crush him. "But we can't let fear stop us from building the world we want to live in." Helen Clark invited them to see her farm, where she worked with soil and plants that should have been toxic to handle. She explained how humans had learned to work with their environment rather than against it. "Every challenge is also an opportunity," she said, holding up a handful of the rich earth. "This soil feeds our families. The rain that floods other areas waters our crops. The wind that destroys weak buildings powers our generators." The diplomatic team's final stop was at the coast, where they met marine biologist Alex Turner. He offered to show them Earth's oceans, and Thysael accepted despite her growing concern about what they might find. The underwater journey revealed a realm more terrifying than any nightmare. Creatures with rows of razor-sharp teeth glided through the depths. Beings that could change their appearance at will lurked in shadowy crevices. Organisms generated their own light in the crushing darkness, creating an alien landscape of beauty and death. "This is magnificent," Alex said through his underwater communication system. "Every dive shows me something new. Aren't you afraid of the predators? Respectful? Yes. Afraid? No. They're just living their lives, same as us. Most of them have no interest in humans unless we threaten them." As if to prove his point, a massive creature with tentacles longer than the diplomatic shuttle glided past them. Alex waved at it in greeting, and the creature seemed to acknowledge him before disappearing into the depths. Humans don't just survive on their Deathworld, Thysael realized as they returned to the surface. They've made themselves part of it. That evening, as the diplomatic team prepared their report, Thysael struggled to find words that would convey what they had experienced. Earth represented a complete reversal of everything the galaxy understood about survival and civilization. "Ambassador," her aide asked, "how do we classify these humans? Are they a threat to galactic security?" Thysael looked out at the human settlement where lights twinkled peacefully in the gathering darkness. Children played in gardens while their parents worked together on community projects. The scene looked almost normal until she remembered that this peaceful civilization existed on a planet that should have killed them all long ago. "I don't think they're a threat to us," she said finally. "I think we've been a threat to ourselves by avoiding challenges instead of embracing them. These humans may be the teachers the galaxy never knew it needed." Chief Engineer Voxthar arrived at the human homeworld with the most advanced analysis equipment the Confederation could provide. His specialty was studying how different species developed technology, and his reports influenced galactic engineering, standards across thousands of worlds. Nothing in his vast experience had prepared him for what human technology would reveal about the nature of innovation itself. "Show me their primary manufacturing facilities," he requested as soon as his shuttle landed at the research base. His assistant, a nervous young engineer named Plixvon, activated the holographic displays. "Chief Engineer, we must warn you that..." Human technology operates on principles we consider fundamentally dangerous. Explain. They build their machines to function in conditions that would destroy our finest equipment. Their manufacturing processes use temperatures, pressures, and chemical reactions that we classify as industrial disasters. The display showed a human steel production facility where temperatures reached levels that would melt most galactic materials. Workers moved casually through the environment wearing only basic protective gear. A human named Matt Cooper stood near furnaces that glowed with heat visible from space, checking readings on handheld devices. Those temperatures should kill any organic being instantly, Voxthar observed. Matt has worked in that environment for 15 years. He considers it normal. What materials are they producing? Alloys stronger than anything in our databases. They've achieved molecular bonding densities we thought impossible using methods we abandoned as too risky. Voxthar studied the production process carefully. Human metallurgy used controlled violence on a scale that terrified galactic engineers. They subjected materials to stresses that should cause catastrophic failure, yet somehow achieved unprecedented strength and durability. Show me their transportation systems. The display changed to reveal human aerospace facilities. Voxthar watched in horror as engineers prepared chemical rockets for launch. The rockets were essentially controlled bombs designed to push fragile, organic beings away from the planet at tremendous speeds. "This is madness," he whispered. "How do they survive the launch process?" "Watch this." The display showed astronaut Susan Hayes strapping herself into a rocket while explosive fuel loaded beneath her. She was smiling and talking calmly with her crew as if preparing for a pleasant journey, rather than riding a barely controlled explosion into space. The acceleration forces alone should crush her bones. Human bones are apparently much stronger than our calculations predicted, but that's not the most remarkable part. What could be more remarkable than surviving rocket launch? They fly through their atmosphere in vehicles that operate under conditions we would consider aerial warfare. The screen showed Susan piloting an aircraft through a massive storm system. Lightning flashed around her vessel while violent winds tossed it through the sky like a toy. Instead of seeking shelter or aborting the mission, she continued flying through the chaos. Is she trying to escape the storm? No, Chief Engineer, she's studying it. This is how humans gather weather data. Voxthar's 4 hearts beat irregularly as he processed this information. They fly directly into the most dangerous atmospheric conditions on their planet for scientific research. Every day. They call it routine monitoring. What about their ground transportation? The display showed human cities filled with millions of individual transport vehicles. Each one moved at speeds that would be considered reckless by galactic standards, operated by individual humans making split-second decisions in chaotic traffic patterns. How do they avoid constant collisions? They do collide regularly. They've simply engineered their vehicles to protect the occupants during crashes. They accept accidents as a normal part of transportation. They engineer for failure rather than preventing it. They engineer for survival when failure occurs. It's a completely different approach to safety. Voxthar requested to meet with human engineers directly. The first was Rick Stone, who worked at what humans called a nuclear power facility. The very name made Voxthar nervous, as most galactic civilizations had banned nuclear technology after too many catastrophic accidents. "Welcome to our facility," Rick said cheerfully as he led the alien delegation through the power plant. "We're always excited to show visitors how we generate clean energy." "Clean energy?" Voxthar asked. "But you're splitting atoms." "Controlled. Nuclear fission. We've been doing it safely for decades. This plant provides power for over 2 million people. What happens if something goes wrong? We have multiple safety systems and highly trained operators, but even if every safety measure failed, the design prevents catastrophic release of radiation." Voxthar examined the facility's construction. Human nuclear engineering incorporated redundant safety systems that operated on principles he'd never seen before. Instead of trying to prevent all possible failures, they designed systems that would fail safely when problems occurred. "You plan for everything to go wrong? We plan for the possibility that things might go wrong. Then we make sure nobody gets hurt if they do. The next human engineer was Carol Bell, who specialized in what they called environmental restoration. She took the alien team to a site that had once been completely poisoned by industrial waste. This area was dead 20 years ago, she explained, standing in a thriving forest. Nothing could live here. The soil was toxic, the water was poisoned, and the air was dangerous to breathe. How did you restore it? We didn't fight the contamination. We found organisms that could eat it. Bacteria that consume toxic waste, plants that absorb heavy metals, fungi that break down dangerous chemicals. Voxthar looked around at the healthy ecosystem surrounding them. You used biological processes to reverse industrial damage? Life finds a way to adapt to almost anything. We just had to find the right life forms and give them the right conditions. This approach could restore damaged worlds across the galaxy. That's the idea. We're already developing techniques for different planetary environments. The most startling revelation came when human computer programmers Nathan Gray and Diane Fisher offered to help upgrade the alien research systems. Their approach to problem-solving challenged every principle of galactic computer science. Your systems are very elegant, Nathan observed, while examining the alien computers. But they seem designed to avoid errors rather than handle them. Error. Prevention is the foundation of reliable computing, Voxthar replied. But what happens when an error occurs anyway? Our systems shut down to prevent damage. That seems inefficient. What if we designed systems that could keep working even when parts of them failed? Nathan and Diane spent 3 days rebuilding the research station's computer network. Their modifications seemed chaotic to galactic standards, but the results were undeniable. The new system ran faster, handled more data, and continued operating even when individual components failed. How is this possible? Plixavon asked. Redundancy and adaptation, Diane explained. Instead of one perfect solution, we use many good solutions working together. If one fails, the others compensate. Your approach accepts imperfection as inevitable. Perfection is impossible in complex systems. But you can build systems that work well despite their imperfections. Voxthar realized that human engineering represented a fundamental shift in thinking. Instead of trying to eliminate all risks and failures, humans designed systems that remained functional when risks became reality and failures occurred. This explains their success on the Deathworld, he told his team that evening. They don't try to create perfect safety. They create systems that work safely in imperfect conditions. Should we adopt their methods? I think we have to. Look at what they've accomplished. The evidence was overwhelming. Human technology, built using principles the galaxy considered dangerous, outperformed galactic standards in durability, efficiency, and adaptability. Their machines worked in conditions that would destroy conventional equipment. Their safety systems protected people during emergencies rather than just trying to prevent emergencies. Most importantly, human engineering philosophy had created a civilization that thrived on challenges rather than avoiding them. They had turned their Deathworld into a garden, their atmospheric chaos into energy sources, and their planetary dangers into opportunities for growth. Chief Engineer, Plixavon said quietly, if we adopt human engineering principles, we'll need to completely revise galactic safety standards. Not revise, Voxthar replied, watching human engineers work together to solve problems with tools and methods that should have been impossible. Replace. These humans have shown us that our entire approach to technology has been limited by our fear of taking risks. Are you recommending we take more risks? I'm recommending we learn to take risks safely, the way humans do. They've proven that the greatest safety comes not from avoiding danger, but from learning to thrive in dangerous conditions. The implications would reshape galactic civilization. Human engineering hadn't just survived on a Deathworld. It had created technologies that could transform the galaxy itself. 6 months after first contact, the Galactic Confederation faced a decision that would reshape the future of civilized space. The reports from Terra 3 had reached every major world, and the implications terrified some leaders while exciting others. Humanity represented something unprecedented in galactic history. a species that had turned their greatest weakness into their greatest strength. Julia Adams, the president of Earth's governing council, stood before the assembled representatives of 47 different species. The Grand Council chamber on the neutral world of Centrix Prime had never hosted a meeting quite like this one. The question before them was simple, yet profound. What role would humanity play in galactic civilization? Honored representatives, Julia began, her words translated simultaneously into dozens of languages. We come before you not as conquerors or supplicants, but as partners. Earth may be what you call a death world, but it has taught us lessons that we believe can benefit everyone. High Chancellor Zixfon of the Confederation Council raised a crystalline appendage. President Adams, our scientists report that your species possesses capabilities that exceed our understanding of biological limits. How do we know humanity won't use these abilities to dominate other species? Julia smiled, an expression that had puzzled alien observers since first contact. Because our death world taught us something more valuable than strength. It taught us cooperation. No human survives alone on Earth. We learn to help each other or we all die. As if to prove her point, the emergency alert system activated throughout the chamber. A crisis had developed on the mining world of Zerion 7. Critical life support. Systems had failed, and the peaceful Zethkari colonists faced extinction within hours. The conditions on Zerion 7 included toxic atmosphere, extreme temperatures, and unstable geology. Exactly the type of environment that had killed rescue teams from 6 different species. The Confederation's emergency response teams cannot reach the survivors, reported the crisis coordinator. The environmental conditions are beyond our operational parameters. Julia looked around the chamber at the worried faces of representatives, whose people might face similar disasters someday. With your permission, we'd like to help. 3 hours later, human emergency specialist Steve Clark led a rescue team onto the surface of Zerion 7. The conditions that had defeated galactic rescue technology seemed almost familiar to the human crew. Toxic air, crushing gravity, and ground that shifted unpredictably under their feet. It reminded them of working in Earth's more challenging environments. Linda, check the atmospheric readings, Steve called to safety specialist Linda Brown as they approached the damaged mining facility. Toxic but manageable, Linda replied, adjusting her equipment. We'll need breathing apparatus, but the toxin levels are lower than what we deal with in Earth's deep mines. Temperature? High, but within operational range. Remember that geothermal plant we built in Indonesia? This is actually cooler. The rescue operation that followed amazed galactic observers. Where other species required massive technological support, the humans adapted quickly to local conditions. They moved through the dangerous environment with confidence born from living their entire lives in similarly hostile conditions. Rescue team to base, Steve reported as they reached the first group of survivors. We've found 37 Zethkari in emergency shelter. They're scared but alive. How are you extracting them? Asked the Confederation coordinator. Standard emergency procedures. Linda's setting up a safety line while I assess structural damage. We should have everyone out within 6 hours. The Zethkari survivors watched in amazement as the humans worked. Where their own rescue technology had failed, these Deathworld beings used simple tools and techniques that seemed almost primitive. Yet the approach worked perfectly in the dangerous conditions. How do you remain so calm? Asked Zethkari supervisor. Heeltex as Steve carefully carried her through a section of unstable terrain. This isn't much different from emergency situations on Earth, Steve replied. Dangerous ground, toxic air, equipment failures. We train for this stuff regularly because our planet throws it at us all the time. Your world trains you for disasters? Our world is a disaster from most species' perspective, but it's also our home, and we've learned to love it. The successful rescue of all 847 Zethkari colonists created a sensation throughout galactic civilization. For the first time in Confederation history, a crisis that had defeated conventional response capabilities had been solved completely and without casualties. The implications reached far beyond one rescue operation. Within days, requests for human assistance poured in from across the galaxy. The mining consortium needed experts who could work in dangerous environments. The Terraforming Guild wanted consultants who understood how to modify hostile worlds. Even the military sought advisors who could operate in conditions that defeated advanced technology. Dr. Gary Lewis and epidemiologist Nancy King found themselves at the center of the most urgent request. The peaceful Velthari faced extinction from a plague that had resisted every treatment in galactic medical databases. Their homeworld was dying, and conventional medicine had failed completely. The pathogen operates on principles we don't recognize, the Velthari medical chief explained. It adapts to every treatment we attempt. Gary studied the data with interest rather than despair. On Earth, we deal with adaptive pathogens constantly. Evolution never stops on our planet, so diseases that evolve rapidly are normal for us. How do you treat them? We don't fight evolution, we use it. Instead of trying to create one perfect cure, we develop multiple treatments that work together. When the disease adapts to one approach, the others remain effective. Nancy added, "We also strengthen the immune system rather than just attacking the disease. Earth taught us that healthy organisms can fight off infections that would kill weakened ones. The treatment protocol they developed saved the Velthari civilization and established a new approach to galactic medicine. Instead of seeking single, perfect solutions, medical researchers began developing adaptive treatment systems that could evolve alongside diseases. Similar breakthroughs occurred across every field where humans shared their knowledge. Engineer Carol Bell transformed terraforming by showing how to work with planetary ecosystems rather than replacing them. Computer specialist Nathan Gray and Diane Fisher revolutionized galactic networks by building systems that grew stronger, under stress rather than weaker. The most profound change came in education. Human instructor Kevin Moore and wilderness expert Sophie Taylor established training programs where young beings from across the galaxy learned survival skills that their homeworlds had never required them to develop. Why do we need to learn about dangerous environments? Asked a young Zenthari student during one of the first classes. Because the universe is dangerous, Sophie replied gently. Not evil or malicious, just challenging. If you only know how to live in safe conditions, you're limited to safe places. But if you can thrive in challenging conditions, the entire galaxy becomes your home. Kevin demonstrated basic survival techniques that seemed impossible to species, raised in protected environments. On Earth, every human child learns these skills, not because we expect them to face disasters, but because confidence comes from knowing you can handle whatever life presents. The training programs became so popular that the Confederation established permanent academies on carefully selected worlds that offered controlled challenges. Young beings who had never faced real danger learned to overcome fear, solve problems under pressure, and work together when everything went wrong. The transformation of galactic civilization happened, gradually but inevitably. Species that had avoided challenges for millennia began seeking them out. Worlds that had been abandoned as too dangerous became sites of new colonies staffed by graduates of human training programs. Technologies that had stagnated for centuries experienced rapid advancement as engineers learned to embrace failure as a pathway to success. The final change came in how the galaxy viewed Earth itself. The official classification was updated from Class 12 Deathworld, avoid at all costs, to Essential Training Facility, handle with respect. Earth became the most valuable world in known space, not despite its dangers, but because of them. Julia. Adam stood once again before the Galactic Council, but this time the atmosphere was completely different. Instead of fear and suspicion, she saw respect and gratitude. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy through force. They had transformed it through example. 1 year ago, you saw Earth as the galaxy's most dangerous world, she said. Today, we hope you see it as the galaxy's greatest teacher. Our death world didn't make us monsters, it made us survivors. And survival, we've learned, is something best shared with friends. The Council's unanimous vote to grant humanity full membership came with an unprecedented honor. For the first time in galactic history, a single species was designated as emergency response specialist for the entire Confederation. When disasters struck, when conventional solutions failed, when the impossible needed to become possible, the galaxy would call on the children of the death world